Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Iti piso Bhagavarahan Samma Sambuddho Vijjacharana Sampanno Sugato Lokavidu Anuttaro Purisadamma Sarati Satta Deva Manusanam Buddho Bhagavati. Namo Tassa Samma Sambuddhassa. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditi Ko Akaliko Ehipasiko Vapanayako Pachatan Veditabbo Vinno Heti. Namo Tassa Niyanika Sadammasa. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ujupatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Nyayapatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Samicipatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Edidam Chattari Purisa Yugani Atta Purisa Puggala Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anuttarang Punyaketang Lokasati. Namo Tassa Atta Arya Puggala Mahasangasa. Sukhi Hunt Mangal Ho. So this is today's discourse is this Ādittapariyāya Sutta. Aditya means like in Sanskrit, in many Indian languages. But sun also, it's called as Aditya. And Aditya means like Ādittapariyāya, like it's like alternate. Pariyaya means alternate. Alternate to the sun means like the nature, the quality of the sun that is highlighted here in this sutta. So what is the quality of the sun? It is burning. Burning or a flame. It's like always the flames are, continuous flames are coming out of sun. That means it is burning. So in that way, this Ādittapariyāya, Ādittapariyāya. In Sanskrit, it is Aditya. In Pali, it becomes Aditta, or sometimes it becomes Aditya also. Aditya becomes Aditya also, but here it is Aditta. In that way, many translators, many commentators, they mention it as Ādittapariyāya Sutta. You can say it as Ādittapariyāya Sutta also. Because in Pali, everything gets simplified, even the pronunciation. Dharma becomes Dhamma to make the things very simple, because it's like it was that time the language of the folk, like the masses. So the masses, they can't pronounce with all that that exact convulsions of the sound of the words, the twisting, turning, all these things. They will simply, it will be simple pronunciation. So in some places they say it's Aditya also, Aditta also. In some places they say, but it is actually Aditya, like the quality of the sun that is burning. Always it is a flame. So in that way, this Ādittapariyāya Sutta, it is all about the quality of the quality of the sun, that is the burning quality of the sun, the flame quality of the sun, but of flameness, that burningness that we will see in this sutta. That's what is highlighted in this sutta. And before going into this sutta, the actual words, the discourse, you will see the background of this. The background of this sutta. What is the background of this sutta? Buddha, after his enlightenment, first he went to this Saranath. There he taught this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta and Anatta Lakkana Sutta also he taught there. And 5 disciples, they became arahants. And after that, there was one young man by name Yasa, and he gave one discourse to Yasa because he was very much upset with the worldly things, though he was a millionaire and he was good in all aspects, but he was disgusted. He became upset with the world. So then he learned this, that in that way, when a person, though he is having everything, worldly things, but once he becomes like, he develops some kind of impermanent happiness, like essencelessness in the worldliness. So they look for this spiritual wisdom or spiritual happiness. Whether it is in the case of Buddha, whether it's in the case of so many other, Sariputta, Mangalana. Same way, this Yasa also, he was disgusted with all the sensual pleasures, the wealth, materialistic pleasures, other pleasures with his wealth, with his women, all these pleasures. When he was disgusted, then he was looking for only this, whether this is the life I have to be in, I have to keep on rolling in this, disgusting pleasures. In that way, when he was suffering, upset with these worldly things, then so he was saying, oh, everything is dukkha, dukkha. In that way he was telling, and when he met Buddha, then Buddha, he invites him, and now I will tell you what is the actual happiness, the true peace and happiness. In that way he gave one discourse in some step-by-step manner. It's called Anupubbikata, having faith in this absolute liberation, what is liberation, and the ways and means to attain liberation. And that very first discourse given to this Yasa, it was good enough to make him a Sotapanna. He could understand the glimpse of Nibbana, and he became Sotapanna. Then his father came in searching him. So then he gave one discourse to his father, something like this, and his father became Sotapanna, and this this Yasa, who was also there, but his father could not see him. Buddha, with his supernormal powers, he just he could hide him. He could, like say, he was hidden, this Yasa, and he could hear, of course, Buddha's discourse, and he became Arahant. And after that, he developed disinterest in the worldliness, in the family life, and he decided, he requested Buddha to make him a monk, and Buddha made him a monk. And after that, his friends, there were total 54 friends of this Yasa. They also became, they also followed this Yasa, and they also became monks and arahants. So 55, this Yasa and his friends, and 5 Panchavagya bhikkhus, that is 60 monks, they were ready. And also they say in, so there were some 30 young men who are also, like say, developed this interest in the worldliness, and they also became Baddhavagya. They are called Baddhavagya bhikkhus. Later they became bhikkhus, and they also became arahants. And in that way, of course, Buddha had given a few discourses before this Ādittapariyāya Sutta also to convert, to enlighten these different groups of youngsters, and then later they became arahants also. And Yasa's mother and his wife also, they became Sotapannas. In that way, a series of discourses which are not of, like say, which are not very popular. So some people, some commentators, that's why they consider this Ādittapariyāya Sutta as the third most important sutta given by Buddha. Though in between a few other discourses were given, and many people became enlightened. But this is considered as the third most important discourse, this Ādittapariyāya Sutta. After this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, and then this Anattalakkana Sutta, and this Ādittapariyāya Sutta is considered the third most important sutta in the chronological order. Like, what is chronological order? After Buddha's enlightenment, time-wise. That like other discourses like this Ādittapariyāya Sutta and all, they are very, very significant. But they were given after so many years. That's why when you consider the discourses given in the order of time, so then the third most important sutta is this Ādittapariyāya Sutta after Dhammacakkappavattana and Anattalakkana Sutta. That's what we were discussing from in this Varṣāvāsa. The first sutta that we discussed is Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And then the second one last week it was Anattalakkana Sutta. And the third today it is Ādittapariyāya Sutta. And in that way, some 90 arahants, they were ready. And then Buddha again, he started moving towards this Uruvela. There is a place called Uruvela. Of course, it was also very close to this Bodh Gaya. And while Buddha returned back, he asked other monks, the enlightened monks, to go in different directions and spread this. Bahujana Hitaya, Bahujana Sukaya, Lokam Pampaya, Charita Bhikkhave, Charikam. It's like keep moving, keep going. Charika. Like means like keep moving and keep teaching these things. In that way, after giving instructions to these other enlightened bhikkhus, arahants, Buddha himself has chosen this Uruvela, this Bodh Gaya, this Magadha route, because he had promised this Bimbisara, the Magadhan ruler, that after enlightenment he will return back and he will teach this Magadhan ruler, that is Bimbisara. He had promised. Because this Bimbisara, he was so compassionate to Buddha, being a king, being a prince. So I will give half of my kingdom. Just enjoy this worldliness. Why you have become a hermit, a mendicant? You are looking, and of course he was looking great, and you are looking like an ideal Kshatriya, great well-dressed Kshatriya. So I will give half of this Magadhan kingdom. So why don't you become a king? So in that way, he had shown a lot of compassion to Buddha. And then he realized the noble mission of Buddha, and again he respected the noble mission of Buddha. Okay, go ahead with your search for enlightenment and liberation. And after you discover this path to enlightenment, then you please come back and you teach me. In that way, he requested this King Bimbisara. So to fulfill that promise, Buddha, so he started, like say, traveling towards this Magadha. On the way to Magadha, this Uruvela, a place called Uruvela. So he reached that place. There he encountered three brothers. They are called Kassapa brothers. Uruvela Kassapa is the eldest of these three brothers, and he had 500 disciples, and he was having some ashram kind of thing, some hermitage in the upper streams of the river. And then his brother Nadi Kassapa, and the last one is Gaya Kassapa. These were the three Kassapa brothers. This Nadi Kassapa, he was having some 300 disciples, and Gaya Kassapa, they say he was having some 200 disciples, and they were having their own hermitages. And of course, they were having these hermitages very close to the river bank, in different heights, of course, the different stream levels, like in the upstreams, the downstreams, and in the below downstreams. This Gaya Kassapa was there. So in that way, they were practicing their own spiritual practices. This Uruvela Kassapa, Nadi Kassapa, and Gaya Kassapa. And Buddha, he knew that they are ready for this enlightenment. So of course, the wisest among them was the senior most, that is this Urvela Kassapa. So he requested this Urvela Kassapa that one night he wants to stay there in their hermitage. Then he showed one place where there was one serpent, one ferocious serpent used to stay. And actually Buddha requested he can go and stay in that place where that ferocious serpent was. But this Urvela Kassapa, it is very ferocious, it will not spare you. But Buddha said, no problem, I can go and stay. And with his supernormal powers, he could tame that ferocious serpent, and it became very loyal to Buddha. And in that way, Buddha showed his supernormal power, and he was very much impressed. This Urvela Kassapa is not an ordinary person. But still he was thinking, his practice was worshipping the fire. So in that way, this Ādittapariyāya, it's all about the fire, the flame, the burning. So in that way, Buddha, you see, based on the temperaments of the people, their practices, Buddha is to design the discourses. So based on their practices, their habituations, Buddha had designed this Ādittapariyāya Sutta. So this Urvela Kassapa, he was a fire worshipper. Most of the these Brahmins during that time, they were the fire worshippers. Just like the present day Parsis, Parsis are fire worshippers. They always keep one burning this light, one fire always, which is like burning 24 hours, 365 days from years and years, decades, centuries. They keep on burning that fire. So you might have seen these Parsis in their towers, the Parsi towers, or in some worshipping places, Parsis worshipping places. Always this burning fire you can see. Something like that, of course, different kinds of fire worshippers, they have different notions, different, like say, views about fire worshipping. So in that way, these people, these Kassapa brothers, they were also fire worshippers. And he was thinking that he was Arahant, this Urvela Kassapa. Oh, he's a great man, this Gautam, this Buddha. But he may not be an Arahant like me. In that way, he was having that kind of wrong view. So Buddha had to show him nearly 16 supernormal powers. Not only taming this serpent, this ferocious this snake, this naga. So he had to show some 16 supernormal powers to tame this Urvela Kassapa's pride, And then finally, he understood he is not an ordinary person, and he was ready, his mind was ready to listen to Buddha. And when Buddha, of course, and in the same way, the other two brothers and their disciples also, they became impressed because their elder brother himself is impressed with this Buddha. And the other two brothers and their disciples, total these 1,000 people, 1,000 disciples and these three brothers. They were actually, all of them, they were in the same place. They were listening to Buddha. And that time, Buddha gave this discourse. And here, to give this clarity of what kind of fire that you should understand. The external fire that you are worshipping, trying to understand, it's of no use. Just like this, yesterday, Dhammapada, many of you were there, it seems like. So many big groups, they were discussing about the soil, the quality of the soil, the color of the soil, the roads, the kind of the roads that they were traversed. The external prithvi, the external soil, Patavi Dhatu, earth element, they were discussing about the external things. That Buddha discouraged. What's the use of this discussing about the external things? It's all like gossiping, it's all like frivolous talk, it's like loose talk kind of thing. In no way it helps. In the same way, if you are worshipping these external things, this fire, this burning, this, you're trying to understand this, this Agni, this fire, and the nature of this fire that is burning, it's of no use. There are so many things which are burning inside, which are aflame inside. You have to understand those things. In that way, Buddha, you see, every sutta where people are worldly, their interests are towards the world, whether for the spiritual gains or for the materialistic gains. Most of the people are external. Their interests are outwardly. Their inclinations are outwardly. They don't see the inward. They can't go inwards and see the internal world. A person who starts knowing the internal world, understanding the internal world, then he will be liberated from this internal world first. Then automatically one can liberate from the external world. After all, the internal world of this body and the external world, they have the same constitution, the same constituents. External four elements: earth, water, fire element. Internal body also is made up of earth, water, fire element. And the beauty of understanding the internal world is the mind is also actually, it is taking the internal world as the base, as the basis, as a substratum, as the foundation. Based on that, the internal world of the mind is working. So once you start understanding the relation between the mind and this internal world of these four elements, this body, then understanding becomes more clear. On the external materialistic world, the mind's attachment or mind's understanding, it will be confusing. Because the mind is based on our internal world, internal body, this body on which the mind is dependent on. Then understanding the relation between this body and this mind, it becomes easy, and it is the way. External things are just an expansion of the internal world and this mind and body. When you understand this, automatically the external world can be understood. So keeping this in the mind, to teach these fire worshippers in their language, that means like they were like so much obsessed with this fire and fire worship, to show the same thing, the same reflection within themselves, the same image or the reflection of the fire and understanding the fire within themselves by seeing inwards. So that they can easily relate, and it can help them to get emancipation, to get enlightened, to become liberated. Buddha used this very beautiful simile, which is very, very appropriate for these 1,000 this Kassapa brothers, their disciples. So that is the background of this fire sermon. Sermon means like a discourse on the fire, on this Ādittapariyāya, this aflame. That way also some translators they translate, and burning in that way also. This this is translated, Aditya is translated as burning, Aditya is translated as a flame. It is like a flame, it is burning. So that is what is the background of this. Of this Ādittapariyāya Sutta. So they are all sitting in one place near this Uruvela, this Gaya. There Buddha gave this discourse. So here they are all, of course, Buddha's disciples, and they were all bhikshus. Buddha started calling them as bhikshus, bhikkhus. Sabbang bhikkhave adityam. Sabang means everything. Monks, it is burning. Aditya means burning, or it's a flame. Everything is burning. Monks. In that way, Buddha started this discourse. Kincha bhikkave sabbang aditya. What monks is all that is burning? What do I mean? I say that all is burning. So what I mean by this statement, but all is burning. Chakku adityam, rupa adityam, chakku vinyanang adityam. Eye is burning. Rupa adityam, the object of the eye, that is whatever you see from your eyes, the forms, everything, the different forms that you see, that is also burning. Burning here, what it implies, it's all changing. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. It is like, just like the flames, moment to moment, one flame will go, the next flame will come, isn't it? Whenever you see a burning object with flames, the one flame will go, the other flame will take its position. So in that way, everything is momentary. One will go, other will come, one will go, other will come. And also the fire, the quality of the fire is, it burns. It inflicts pain on you, it inflicts that suffering on you, that burning on you. That means it is anicca, it is dukkha, it inflicts suffering. And it is anatta. You can't catch hold of it as me or mine, and you can't control it. It is always burning according to its own nature, according to the causes and conditions. The different raw material that you have put, because of wind, because of the raw material, because of already existing heat, all these different reasons, causes, are making it to burn without any pause, incessantly, continuously, the change, the impermanence, and its burning nature, painful, it inflicts pain. And also you can't hold of it, you can't control it, you can't consider it as me or mine. That anatta is also there. So in this word, in this beautiful simile of this burning, this aflame, this aditya, Buddha is bringing in these three qualities of the existence of everything, whether it is external object or the internal object, whether it is chakku, your own eye, or what you see from the eye, the eye base, the base of this eye, which is actually perceiving the external object, the different forms. That chakku is also, chakku means chakshu, or the eye, is burning. Rupa, the external object that the eye can see, that is also burning. Chakku vinyanang adityam. Chakku vinyana means like the eye consciousness. Anything that cognizes. Eye is like just one like say on media, that's all. But the consciousness behind the eye is also working, and it's called eye consciousness. Eye consciousness is the one that cognizes the external objects through eye base, through eye sense. So in that way, these three things, the external object and the eye consciousness, these things are also burning. All these three are burning. Chakku sampasso adityo. Chakku sampasso means the eye contact. Sampasso means like when external base come in contact with the eye sense, eye base, then it's called contact. Like the external, this table is there, my body is, when it touches it, then it comes in contact. The taste, there is some delicious food, but that food, when it comes in contact with the tongue, then you will start, your tongue consciousness will start working. In the same way, that contact should come. For the sounds, again, there is, the sound should contact the ear sense. Though it may be very far, but it should come and touch, bombard the ear sense. So in that way, that chakku sampajja, that eye contact also, just you have to see that particular object, and that it should impinge. Impinge is the word. That impingement means like that contacting, that bombarding, that touching of that external object on your eye sense, your eye base of the eye sense. That is what is sampassa. Sampassaja, passa sampassaja means like come and touch us, impinges. So that is also under fire, under burning. It is also burning. But means that is also changing moment to moment. That is also changing. That is also creating some kind of affliction, some kind of like say pain, some kind of dissatisfaction, some kind of suffering. That is also burning. That is also aflame. Chakku sampasso. Yam idam chakku sampassa pachaya uppajjati vedaitan sukangva dukkangva adukka masukangva tampi adityan. You see one more beautiful thing. So based on this sampassa, based on this contact, whatever feelings that arise, whether it is sukha or asukha, whether it is pleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling, or adukka masukha, neither pleasant nor unpleasant. Whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, neither pleasant nor unpleasant, kind of neutral feeling. Whether these feelings that arise based on this contact, the object and the eye sense, form and the eye sense, and also the eye consciousness. So all these things, they create these three kinds of sensations, these three kinds of feelings: pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, neither pleasant nor unpleasant, that is neutral feeling. That is also burning. Here, burning implies anicca, dukkha, anatta. Just like a burning flame, it's always changing. Moment to moment, one flame comes, next other flame comes, and it like radiates that heat and it burns. And it is like say, it is controlled in its own way through its causes and conditions, not with some other, with your mind or with some other force. You can't control it. With its own causes and conditions, you can control it. That's all. So that is anatta. So this anicca, dukkha, anatta, these characteristics are implied in this word burning, in this word aditya. So all these feelings are also burning. All this contact, passa is also burning. Vijnana is burning. Chakku vijnana is burning. And then the eye itself, the eye door, through which this vijnana and all these things start working, that eye door is also burning. And the object of the eye, that is the rupa, that is also burning. So that means everything is anicca, dukkha, anatta. Everything is changing. Everything is unsatisfactory, creating some pain, some dissatisfaction, some kind of oppression. And it's like say it is arising based on its own causes and conditions. So that is the implied meaning in this word aditya. So that Buddha has to use this word aditya specifically for these people who are worshipping this fire, who are always into this fire, who are always the imagery of this fire is very much there in their everyday schedule. The whole day, the imagery of fire is very much deeply ingrained in their minds. For them, bringing in this concept of anicca, dukkha, anatta, in this imagery of fire, it was very, very appropriate, and it worked very, very effectively. In this case of these 1,000 people, 1,000 these fire worshippers, including their leaders, this Urvela Kassapa, Adi Kassapa, and Gaya Kassapa, the three brothers. So in that way, Buddha is talking about everything is burning with regard to this one particular sense, that is the eye sense. Whether the eye sense itself, the eye door itself, or its object, external object, or the internal consciousness, or the very contact of these three things, the idol, the consciousness, and the object that is called sampassa or contact, or whatever feelings or the sensations or the feelings better to say, the feelings that arise, the painful feeling, the pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, the neutral feeling that arise because of this contact. All these things are burning. All these things are anicca, dukkha, and anatta. So in that way, Buddha is teaching these three universal characteristics to these three brothers, taking this I sense, I door, I consciousness as the first thing, like say, the materialistic component, or even, of course, the mental component, to understand this anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Why these things are burning? What is the reason? What is the cause for this burning? The cause for this burning, this is important. Simply knowing all these things are burning, all these things are in anicca, dukkha, and anatta, people are simply talking about anicca, dukkha, and anatta. The reason we should know, right? Cause for this anicca, dukkha, anatta. The cause for this burning we should know. And that is again highlighted very authoritatively here by Buddha. And Buddha says, Ragagina, dosagina, mohagina, aditya. It is because of your own raga, your own craving and attachment. Or your own this I sense and I adore and sense object, I sense object, that is the forms, different forms, and of course colors, and the eye consciousness, eye contact, and the different feelings based on this eye contact. They're all burning because of these three major defilements, which you have not understood, these three major defilements. And you just allowed these defilements to simply flow, and they are doing their duty. These three major defilements, they are creating this burning. Raga, Ragagina, dosagina, mohagina. The fire of raga, because of the fire of raga, because of the fire of this lust and greed and attachment, and because of the fire of hatred, jealousy, ill will, animosity, enmity, revengefulness, all this. This is also fire. And moha is also delusion, not knowingness, confusion, dullness, no vigilance, no heedfulness, heedlessness. These things are also a fire. And because of these three fires, everything is burning. All the things that are pertaining to your eye sense, or idol, whether it's consciousness, object, contact, and the feelings that arise because of this contact, all these things are burning. All these things are, like say, creating this suffering because of its anicca and anatta. So that is because the root cause, the cause is your attachment. Attachment to this sense object, these sense objects, and the impingement, the contact, the feelings that arise from that, and the consciousness, which is cognizing, which is perceiving, which is understanding these external objects. So it's all these things, they're burning because of these three fires that are very much there in your being, that you have not disconnected, that you have not, like say, let go. You could not let it go. We are just protecting that. Ragagi, dosagi, and mohagi. Agi means agni, that means fire. These three fires, you have so much, you have not understood them, you have not let them go. That's why they are doing their work. Because these three fires are very much there inside. You should understand these three fires, not this external fire that you are worshipping and trying to understand it 24 hours, 365 days. simply seeing that fire and worshipping it and saluting to that fire 1,000,000 times, thinking that this will liberate me. That is not the way. Understand the fires inside. The fire of greed, lust, attachment, craving, the fire of hatefulness, enmity, jealousy, animosity, the fire of delusion, not knowing, ignorance, confusion, pride, arrogance, minus and minus. These are all different aspects of delusion, ignorance, mohaggi. Because of these three aggis, three fires, three agnis, everything is burning, everything is burning, everything is aflame. Especially the things, the dependent origination, the things based on the idol. The same thing Buddha continues. Jatiya jaraya maranena sokehi paridevehi dukkehi domanassehi upayasehi adittanti vadami. Because of these three fires, raga, dosa, moha, these different dependently originated different phenomena that happen in the eye, the contact, the feelings, and the three things that perceive these contacts and feelings, that is the external object, the eye sense door, and the eye consciousness. They start burning because of these three fires. And the burning, it will not stop there itself. But the eye sense itself, it will not stop. That burning, it will continue. It will take you and it will continue in that process, in that cycle of jati, jara, marana, soka, parideva, dukkha, domanassa, upayasa. This dependent origination, you can remember. Avidya pachaya sankara, sankara pachaya vijnana, vijnana pachaya namarupa, namarupa pachaya salayatana. Salayatana means like the six sense bases. Salayatana pachaya, passo means contact. Because of these six sense bases only, there is impingement of the external objects on these sense bases, salayatana. And because of this impingement contact, passa pachayo vedana. Because of that, there are different kinds of feelings you experience. Pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, neutral feeling. Vedana pachaya tanaha. Because of this, you start liking or disliking, bhavatanaha, vibhatanaha, kamatanaha, different kinds of craving you start experiencing. And tanaha pachaya vipadana. And that very craving, it becomes, when it gets repeated again and again, then it becomes a strong clinging. Upadana pachaya bhavo, that very strong clinging will push you to develop that strong desire to become something. That is called becoming. Bhava pachayo jati, because of that very strong desire to become something, that will push you to take birth, rebirth. And jati pachayo jara marana soka dukkha domanassa upayasa. Because when you have taken once the birth, then definitely you have to go through sickness, vyadi, jara, old age, and during that process you have to go through this soka, dukkha, parideva, domanassa, this lamentation, grief, so many other kinds of dukkha, remorse, guilt, lamentation, grief, suffering, body suffering, mental suffering, so many kinds of suffering. All these you go through. Because of this burning, in all these stages it will continue. The root, what is the fire? Your own greed, hatred and delusion. They are the mental formations which you don't know, because of that unknowing of these mental formations of ragaggi, dosaggi, mohaggi, the fire of lust, the fire of attachment, the fire of hate and jealousy and animosity and ill will, and the fire of ignorance, arrogance, minus, pride, confusion. So these three fires, raga, dosa, moha, you don't know, that is the avidya. And they become the mental formations. And they create this kind of, like say, the different salayatana, the consciousness, of course, first it produces the consciousness, these defilements, these ignorant defilements, mental formations, they make this consciousness, and that consciousness, it will create this body and mind, and the salayatana, the six sense spaces. Because of that, the contact with the external world starts, and of course with the internal world also, your own memory is also a contact with regard to the mind sense. And because of this impingement of these objects and the consciousness and the sense bases, you start experiencing these different feelings. They lead to different kinds of cravings. Different kinds of cravings lead to clingings, and the desire to become something, it starts, and then you become something, that is jati, that is birth. And once you take birth, then the suffering will continue, the old age, of sickness, of death, of grief, lamentation, where this fire of this mental formation, this greed, hatred, and delusion, they are burning all these other formations, other processes that will follow with this consciousness, with this contact, with these feelings, with this clinging, with this becoming, birth, then lamentation, grief, old age, sickness, and the death. In all these different stages, the burning continues because of the fire of your defilements, because of the fire of this your greed, hatred, and delusion. There is no other thing that some universal being, he is creating some consciousness in you. He is asking you to worship the fire, external things, so that he will bless you, he will, with his grace, you will be liberated. There's nothing like that. It's your own internal fires. They are creating all this burning. They are creating all this suffering with these characteristics of anicca, dukkha, anatta. That understanding was important to these 1,000 these fire worshippers, the renunciates. Of course, they were quite honest, but they were not knowing the path. They were having their own wrong view. I tell all these things are vadami, means I tell, I declare. So the burning is there in all these processes because of this root fire that is inside you. The greed, hatred, and delusion, which is because of ignorance, which is because you have not understood them. And they are creating all this burning in all these different phases and creating this again and again, because you have not fixed them by understanding them. This greed, hatred, and delusion, you have not understood them because of your ignorance, and you have not fixed them, again because of, you don't know that, again because of ignorance. So that has led to this complete cycle of different kinds of burning. The all is burning, monks. What monks is the all that is burning? The eye is burning, sights are burning, eye consciousness is burning, eye contact is burning. The pleasant, painful, or neutral feelings that arise dependent on eye contact, those two are burning. With what are they burning? They are burning with the fire of passion, with the fire of ill will, with the fire of delusion. I declared that they are burning with the fire of birth, aging, death, grief, lamentation, pain, sorrow, and despair. I declare. So this lead to the other fires of birth, other burnings in the form of birth, in the form of aging, in the form of death, grief, lamentation, pain, sorrow. In all these things, that burning you can see. The root fires are these three fires, and they are taking the burning in all these different phases. And it is cyclical. It will keep on going because you have not fixed these three fires with understanding, with wisdom, with awareness, with true knowledge. In the same way, not only with regard to the eye sense that we have seen, the same thing Buddha, expands, starts explaining for other senses also. Not only the eye sense, same with the sotang adityan. Your ear sense also, it's burning. The ear objects also burning. The ear consciousness is also burning. The contact, because of the object and the ear sense, but contact is also burning. And the different feelings that arise because of this contact, that's also burning. And then the feelings that lead to the craving, clinging, and then the birth, old age, all these things are burning. Burning in the sense, anicca, dukkha, anatta. There is suffering because of their impermanent, their essencelessness nature. There is some affliction, there is some suffering, and that's how this burning is aptly used, very appropriately used. The word burning, aditya, because there is affliction, there is suffering in all these phenomena which are rooted in one's own passion, greed, hatred, and delusion. Passion, hatred, and delusion, ignorance. The same way, sota means like the here, the same way, the nose sense also, tongue sense also, touch sense also, pothabba, touch sense also. Jihva, tongue, ghana, so this nose, and then body sense, touch sense, tactile objects, and then the mano, mind sense also. The mind sense and the mental objects, you have different thoughts and memories and views and identities, inclinations. They're also like some kind of mental objects. They also come in touch with your mind consciousness, and they also create a lot of suffering, a lot of burning and a lot of suffering. And again, the cause is ragagina, dosagina, mohagina, adityan, because of the fire of lust, fire of passion, fire of hatefulness, fire of delusion. All this is burning. You see here, the aggi is used for these three causes. That is raga, dosa, moha. The passion, the lust, the hatefulness, and for the delusion. Because they are the fire, they are the cause for this burning, for this suffering of these different senses and objects, and then the clinging, and then the birth, and the old age, death. All these are the outcome of your basic cause, basic root cause of the greed, hatred, and delusion, the passion, the hatefulness, and the ignorance. We can argue, or you can just ask me, like, of course we can understand hatefulness, anger. It seems like it is burning, it creates a lot of suffering. But how come this passion and lust, they give some kind of pleasantness also? In that way, some people may think. But no, if you are bit little more sensitive, you can understand behind that wanting also there is a lot of suffering. Though it may give a little bit of excitement, behind that there is a lot of, your freedom will be lost. That very desiring, it will bind you, it will make you a slave. And you feel as if you are shackled with you're tightly holding with that attachment, with that desire, and that creates immense pain, immense suffering. And in that way, that is also actually burning more. It's more dangerous. It is actually more fearsome, because it has tremendous potency to burn you, and it is burning actually. It is something like charcoal, very, very hot charcoal. It is covered with some ash, that's all. Though the ash, it looks like like it gives an idea that there is no burning charcoal. When something is like, say, very hot, red amber, then you think it is burning. But when it is covered with some ash, you may think it may not be burning, but inside there is this burning red hot charcoal is there. The same is the quality of this lust and the passion and this attachments. Attachments, though they may look like very, like, say, pleasant. Like yesterday we have seen that flower-tipped arrows or the honey-tipped arrows. It is just on the tip, is just a small smearing of honey may be there in this lusty thoughts or lusty this defilement of lust. Though there may be some kind of a little bit of smearing of honey, a little bit of covering with some flowers, but deep inside the arrow is there. Deep inside the burning is there, unpleasantness is there, bondage is there, suffering is there. So in that way, you should understand even this lust and attachment, passion is also a great fire. It's actually a greater fire than anger and hatefulness, enmity. So in that way, the Buddha is showing or explaining that all these senses, sense objects, sense consciousness, the contacts, the different feelings, and the different attachments that arise, and the different clingings that arise from these contacts, feelings, and attachments, they're all burning. That means they're all inflicting pain, inflicting suffering because of your unknowingness, unawareness, unintelligence. You are not in a position to know it, and you have just allowed it to go. And that's why you are again taking birth, and once the birth is taken, then the old age, death, saw this sickness, and during that process, different kinds of suffering like lamentation, grief, pain, dukkha, parideva, soma, upayasa. There are different kinds of pain and suffering. One goes through because of these three major fires that they have not understood and that they have not fixed by understanding. You need not fix with so much of effort this raga, dosa, moha. If you just understand them, and these fires are responsible for the burning, that very understanding is there, and automatically they subside. But very understanding is the key, and that's what is being imparted in this sutta. In that way, an Arya Savaka, an instructed disciple, in that way, if he can listen to this, understand this, he develops a kind of disinterest, a kind of revulsion, a kind of disenchantment towards all these senses, sense objects. By understanding, that's what actually all of you are learning. Those who are into this right to meditation, of course, all of you are into this. And this sound meditation, eating meditation, you're understanding that all these tastes and all, they're all impermanent. One need not develop attachment to these tastes or smells or sounds or the visible forms or the body sensations, body physical feelings. There is no need to be attached because they're all changing, they're all creating some kind of oppression, some kind of attachment, which is nothing but oppression. That's what you're realizing. So in that way, an instructed person, an instructed disciple, a noble disciple, if he understands that all these things are burning, all these things are anicca, dukkha, anatta, there is no meaning in getting attached to them. That understanding, if a person develops in all these six senses, 5 physical senses and 1 mind sense, then what happens? He develops a kind of repulsion, a kind of revulsion, a kind of disenchantment towards all these senses, sense bases, sense objects, sense consciousness, sense contacts, sense feelings, sense cravings. And that kind of revulsion is very crucial. That kind of disenchantment is very crucial. And through the disenchantment, he develops dispassion. And much more letting go will come, and you develop a kind of disinterest in that. Because you can't let go, you are going through this suffering cycle. You are trapped into this vicious suffering cycle. When you start understanding this, by refining your senses, by sharpening your senses, your mind, and understanding this very clearly, very deeply, or this all, like say, it's creating some kind of dissatisfaction. There is no need to attach to this. Though the world is struck, the world is thinking that there is excitement, there is a lot of thrill, a lot of happiness, a lot of pleasure in this, but there is no actual pleasure in this. That way, we developing a little bit of sensitive mind. When you are practicing all these different sense awareness meditation, definitely that sensitivity a person will develop. And if it becomes more mature, then a person develops a disinterest in all these physical senses and the mind sense also. And that disinterest leads to dispassion and that revulsion, or whatever you say, disenchantment. And that leads to liberation. That leads to liberation. And when it is liberated, there comes the knowledge. It is liberated. He understands destroyed is the birth. The holy life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more for this state of being. So that very disenchantment, dispassion, that leads to this insight. That leads to this liberation. That leads to this knowledge of liberation. That leads to this absolute freedom, like mukti or nibbana. So you see, this very understanding itself is crucial. And that this itself is sufficient enough to make a person an arhat. And of course, they're all very dedicated, like say, renunciant. All these three brothers and their disciples, 1,000 disciples, they could grasp this. Oh, this is where is the key for our bondage, for our liberation. We are holding on to these external things, again with some greed, again with some passion, but we have not understood our internal attachments, internal greed, hatred, and delusion. This is where the mistake was. This is where the problem was. In that way, when they started looking into this reality, this truth, this knowledge, in their own bodies, in their own minds, how these 5 physical senses, sense bases, sense objects, sense consciousness, and one mind sense, mind base, mind consciousness, mind objects, when they see, yes, all these things are burning because of our own attachment to this, our own hatefulness to these things, our own delusion to these things. Then what happened? They delighted, of course, in the Blessed One's statement. And when this concluded, their minds became completely free from all these attachments to all these senses. Understanding that our own passion, greed, hatred, and delusion is the cause for the burning of all these 6 senses, and that is the cause for all other continuation of dukkha, and also even that is the cause for the rebirth. And again in that rebirth also, again this continues, again the old age, death, and again this cycle of birth and death, it continues. That process, all these contact, feelings, senses, craving, it will not leave us. And when they are not living us, this burning also will continue. And when this burning continues, suffering also continues. So the root cause of all this, that is this raga, dosa, moha, this fire is the root cause of all this. That very understanding that this is the root cause, that was good enough with these wise people to let go it and to become enlightened. Understanding. These are the three fires which are making us to burn in our body, in our mind, in our senses, and also in the under these are the things that will take us to the repeated births and deaths where this burning continues. That very understanding was sufficient enough for these wise men to understand that the fire is inside. There is no need to worship the fire outside. There is no need to understand the fire outside. It is better to understand the fire inside. The three fires that are creating this burning incessantly, this life and subsequent lives, that we have to understand. When that knowledge arose in their mind, and they could easily let go it. That very knowledge, that very understanding will, as I told you, it will help you to let go it. The person is, let's say, not comprehending it properly, authoritatively, deeply, then superficially, if he listens to this, in that moment it may give some satisfaction, some happiness, but still he's holding on to this. And it may not, it may give, of course, to some extent, some relief. And if it continues again and again and again, if the person keeps on listening to this, it may have a deeper impact and it may be possible for him to let go these fires. But these wise people in the very first discourse itself, they could comprehend, yes, the external fire, understanding it is absolutely meaningless. The internal fire we have understood. Because what we have understood, these fires only are creating all this suffering. That very understanding was good enough, but nobody wants suffering, right? If I don't want suffering, I should not hold on to these three internal fires. That was very clear. And that understanding itself was good enough for them to let go these three fires. The passion, the hatredness, and the delusion, raga, dosa, moha. And that very letting go, that very dispassion, that very disinterest, it liberated them. And that knowledge of liberation also they could see. Yes, by letting go of this, we are free from all these fires, all these burnings. And there is no rebirth. We are free. Whatever, why we have renunciated our families, our home life. That goal, we have met that goal. We have achieved our ultimate goal. That they realized. All of them, they became arahants. And then actually Buddha constituted Sangha, and then again during that he asked everyone again to go and spread this, and again, and of course before that also for the 60 monks he had asked, and again once in a year again everyone should assemble. So many other instructions also were given to this very big Sangha now, comparatively a bigger Sangha. At that time it was only 60. Now it is 1,000, and again a few more also they became arahants within a couple of months, and they used to assemble every year this first group of great arahants, and they used to have get-togethers every year. And this Uruvela Kassapa, because of one person, he developed tremendous interest in Buddha's teachings, and he became a great follower of Buddha. And because of him, his brothers and their disciples, his disciples, everybody became arahants. And that's why he was given one Etadagga title. And again, their disciples. It was a one big, actually, lineage, this Uruvela Kassapas. So he was foremost in having a big group of disciples. So in that way, on foremost Etadagga title also was conferred on this Uruvela Kassapa, and he was so loyal to Buddha. Again, he became a great teacher also, I think. He could help so many people to get this knowledge. And even King Bimbisara also. After this, when Buddha has his promise that he wanted to fulfill his promise given to this Bimbisara, then this Magadhan king, this Bimbisara, came to know that Buddha has arrived. So again, he came to meet Buddha. There he saw this great monk, this Uruvela Kassapa, was a very renowned monk. And he became a little confused. Whether Buddha is the teacher or this Uruvela Kassapa is the teacher. Whether Buddha has taken refuge in this Uruvela Kassapa or Uruvela Kassapa has taken refuge in Buddha. That he was little bit confused because he was a very aged person, this Uruvela Kassapa, and Buddha is very young. Maybe he has taken refuge in Uruvela Kassapa. In that way also, he was thinking, just to remove that confusion, he just looked at Uruvela Kassapa. And of course, now Uruvela Kassapa is also Arahant, and he could understand what's going on in the minds of Buddha and this King Bimbisara. And then he started, like say, rising and prostrating in front of Buddha. And again, rising with his he got supernormal powers also, this Uruvela Kassapa, his supernormal powers. In different heights, he could rise and he could project himself, he could bow down to Buddha. In different ways, when he started showing respect to Buddha, then this Bimbisara understood. So Buddha has converted this Uruvela Kassapa also, and now they have become monks also. They have shaved their heads. They were jatilas. Previously, they were jatilas, means like they were having long hairs, long beards, and all. And now they have completely shaved their heads. And now this Magadhan king, this Bimbisara, became quite clear that this Uruvela Kassapa has become the disciple of Buddha. And then Buddha gave some discourse to this Bimbisara also, and he became Sotapanna. And he could build so many monasteries for Buddha. Veluvana he could build in Rajgir, and so many other monasteries also he could build. And the entire this eastern part, this Bihar region, Buddha could spread in Vaishali up to this northern Bihar and southern Bihar, all this eastern part. Buddha could spread this Dhamma very efficiently, very effectively with the patronage of this Bimbisara and with, of course, so many disciples like this Kassapa brothers and their company. And after 10 years, I think, she was invited to this western part, that is the Savatthi, that is UP region, by this Ādittapariyāya. And there, of course, for some 25 years, maybe more than 10 years. It was almost 20 years maybe. At the age of 35, when he enlightened Buddha, he became enlightened. Up to the age of 55, this eastern region and this king Bimbisara, he patronized Buddha. And when he became 55, of course, during that time, he used to go here and there also, Buddha. But mainly it was in the eastern region. And remaining 25 years, from the age of 55 to the age of 80, until he became, until he took this Mahaparinibbana again in the UP region, in the western region only, Kushina. Until then, this King Pasenadi, he patronized Buddha, along with, of course, great lay disciples like Ādittapariyāya and Vishaka. So in that way, this Kassapa brothers, mainly this Uruvela Kassapa, he is the key person, impressing this King Bimbisara. Of course, very first time itself, he was very much impressed with the Buddha, but still, this great monk Uruvela Kassapa himself has become the disciple of Buddha. then many people, King Bimbisara and his retinue, his ministers, his subjects, all of them, they became very much impressed with Buddha. In that way, Buddha could easily, like say, promote this Dhamma in this Magadhan Empire. So in this Magadhan Empire, like in this Bihar region, it came under the influence of Dhamma, because one of the main reasons is this Ādittapariyāya Sutta. That Kosalan Empire, this King Pasenadi's empire, that actually the Buddha could spread Dhamma after nearly 20 years. But his mission was successful in this Magadhan Empire. Then he could go to this Kosalan Empire and he could spread Dhamma. So in that way, this sutta is very significant in imparting this great wisdom to these great people, these very wise people. And it has impacted the entire Magadhan Empire, Magadhan Kingdom. So that is what is this Ādittapariyāya Sutta. Okay. So if you have some big questions, you can ask. Then we'll conclude.
And then Guruji.
Yeah.
Guruji, like you said, that there are three type of feelings: pleasantness and unpleasantness and a neutral one. So how to differentiate, like we are like mindfully seeing the things, or it is just a neutral feeling? And the second question is, like you said, all these three feelings cause burning. So I just want to know this concept, like how neutral feelings can also cause a burning.
Okay. Not only feelings, the contact itself is burning. The very consciousness, eye consciousness itself is burning. The very eye sense is burning. Forget about feelings. Many people are stuck in only feelings. It's not just the feelings. Just feelings is an expression of your ignorance, that's all. So everything is burning. Everything is burning means everything is changing and creating some kind of oppression, creating some kind of dissatisfaction. Because something, when you are holding on to something as permanent, when it changes, then it disappoints you. That very disappointment itself is burning, actually. Not only with feelings, with everything. It is the very sense itself, the very the rupas also, they are actually changing. Each and every element is changing. Along with the element, contact is changing. Phassa is changing. Along with that phassa, you experience some kind of pleasant or unpleasant, again because of your ignorance. It's again that pleasantness or unpleasantness is also changing. Neutral means like your mind is so insensitive, that's why you're not in a position to note whether there is some feeling there. That very dumbness, that very blindness, that very, like say, insensitivity of the mind, that is also changing. That's many times our ignorance, our delusion also, it will create some kind of oppression, isn't it? Most of the times it happens. Our insensitivity, our delusion, our dumbness also, it creates suffering. So in that way, if you can't understand anicca, you should understand some kind of oppression or some kind of suffering. If you can't understand this, some kind of suffering or oppression, you should understand anatta. Oh, we can't handle it. We can't control it. We can't change it. The dumbness, let us say this neutral feeling, there is some dumbness. You can't see that there is some feeling going on there. That very dumbness, you should see, oh, this dumbness, I don't have control on this dumbness. I'm experiencing this dumbness. That itself should make you, oh, this very dumbness, this dullness, this not knowingness, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, not penetrating into this, that also creates some kind of suffering. Very not knowingness also is suffering. Main reason for this neutral feeling is not having that sharpness to know. So in that way, don't confine your understanding only to these feelings, which many people do. That is absolute stupidity. You should take the things in a very holistic, in a very broader way. But not only just feelings, it is the very sensation, it's the very sense itself. Not only the expression of sensory sensation, even the very sense itself, it has these three qualities of this anicca, dukkha, anatta. All the constituents of the body, all the rupa, they have the qualities of this burning or this anicca, dukkha, anatta. All the constituents of the mind, all the mental formations, mental factors, all these different mental factors, which constitute again the consciousness, the chitta, like these different mental factors, like what? Like these 14 asubha, these unwholesome mental factors, akusala, chetasika, greed, hatred, delusion, shamelessness, moral shamelessness, moral fearlessness, and then this Thinamidda, Uddacha, Kukucha, restlessness, dullness, this sleepiness, laziness, doubt. All these are, but they're all burning, they're all changing, they're all creating oppression. They're all creating not just the physical sensation, even these mental feelings, mental factors also. You can't see its impact on the body, and you can't see it as a sensation or as a physical feeling. Even if, as a mental feeling, you can find out if we develop some kind of awareness and understanding through listening, through meditation, through contemplation. So in that way, everything, whether it is mental factors, consciousness, the senses, sense bases, sense contacts, everything is burning. In that way, the feelings are also, they're changing and burning. The neutral feeling is nothing but the feeling that you can't penetrate, you can't take your mind deeply into it, a kind of dumbness, a kind of neutralness, a kind of neither pleasantness nor pleasantness you experience. That is what is a neutral feeling. But here in this discourse, you should perceive this, the cause of all this burning in all these different phenomena, whether it is physical phenomena, mental phenomena, and the consequences of this physical and mental phenomena in the form of craving, clinging, rebirth, old age, sickness. The key factor, the key role is played by our attachments, our hatred, our ego, our I-ness and minus. This source of burning you should understand. That is the purpose of this sutta. The source of burning, the source of this different phenomena, whether it is feeling or consciousness or contact or the very sense door, sense base itself, or its consequences, implications like birth, old age, sickness, death. The key factor, the key source, the key cause is our clinging, our attachment, our passion, our lust, kamatana, our competition, our hatefulness, my hatefulness. That is, in a way, it leads to bhavatanaha. That very competition and hatefulness is actually, in a way, it is bhavatanaha. Becoming something. When you want to become something and you see some other competition from some other person, then that hatefulness comes. You understand this? So you want to become something, and some other person also wants to become something, and there the clash comes, and there the hatefulness comes, hatred comes. In a way, the three tanahas, kamatanaha, bhavatanaha, vibhavatanaha, they are actually this raga, dosa, moha. Three pranahas, in a way, it can express them as these three basic defilements: raga, dosa, moha. But when the noble, these truths also, Buddha has not discussed about this dosa and moha. It speaks about tanaha. But tanaha, three kinds of tanaha he talks about. Kama tanaha, bhava tanaha, vibhava tanaha. Kama tanaha means is this sensual desire, that lust and sensual desire that everybody can understand. Bhava tanaha means to become something, to bring in this I-ness and minus. But someone else also, he wants to bring in their I-ness and minus. And there the competition comes, there the conflict comes. And that's where your hatred, your enmity, your animosity, your ill will, your jealousy, all these dosa group mental factors, they start arising. Mental feelings, they start arising. One has to understand these mental feelings, and these mental feelings, how they are pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. Not just confined to these physical feelings. And they're trying whole life in understanding these physical feelings. It is a kind of bluntness and dumbness. That's why all this comprehensive approach you can see in all these discourses, not confining to one thing. And again, this vibhavatanaha is something like your neutral feelings are like this delusion. Raga, dosa, moha. So here, raga is like kamatanaha, dosa is like bhavatanaha, moha is like vibhavatanaha. Not to become is a kind of dumbness. Without understanding, you can't not to become. That means you can't achieve that nibbana. It requires the proper causes and conditions. That knowledge, that wisdom is missing. That's why you develop a kind of not to become kind of dullness. And that kind of craving, I want to achieve nibbana, I want to achieve nibbana, without knowing how to achieve nibbana, that kind of craving is actually your moha, which is defined as, say, moha geek here. People, they remain dumb, they remain ignorant, they remain lazy because they don't want to become anything, and that don't want to become anything, absolutely become free, absolutely become emancipation. It comes through different causes and conditions. Simply being idle, you can't achieve that, that liberation, where you won't become anything. That is vibhava. We can't experience vibhava. Simply becoming idle, simply becoming ignorant. And that's what is moha. So in a way, this raga, dosa, moha are nothing but kamatanaha, bhavatanaha, vibhavatanaha. So not just understanding the feelings, the reason behind the feelings, the context, the reason behind the context, the consciousness behind the reason behind the consciousness. That is these different kinds of mental formations, that is kamatanaha, bhavatanaha, vibhavatanaha, or raga, dosa, moha. Understanding them is very crucial. So that very understanding is the opposite of avidya. That means vidya. Once you get that vidya, then you are understanding this raga, dosa, moha, kamatanaha, bhavatanaha, vibhavatanaha. Then that will refine your consciousness. Then that will refine your contacts. Then that will refine your feelings. Then that will refine your attachments or cravings. And then it will refine your birth also. Then ultimate refinement is nibbana. So the initial levels of refinement will make you to take rebirths in the divine realms, Brahmic realms. And the ultimate refinement, if you achieve in this very life, then that is liberation. So in that way, no need to get so much obsessed with the feelings. Vedananupasana, whatever feelings you experience, it's okay, but understand the cause for these feelings, the cause that is the different contacts, and the cause for this contact that is not refined your senses. And again, understand the cause for these contacts and senses, that is the consciousness, and how this chitta and chetasikas, how these different defilements, formations, mental formations, they create the consciousness. That is, the mental formations are nothing but this raga, dosa, moha, kamatanaha, bhavatana, vibhutana, and start understanding that you are fixing all these other things. That's what is the meaning, that's what is the essence of this ragaggi, dosaggi, mohaggi. Understanding this crucial cause for all other burning, that is important. Because the other consequences, like consciousness, it has so many ways you can understand consciousness, which is actually the result of this raga, dosa, moha. And contacts, in so many ways you can understand contacts. And then after contact, the feelings, in so many ways you can understand the feelings, physical feelings. And of course, when you come to this mental feelings, to this mind consciousness and mind sense base and mind objects, so many ways you can understand. And in the same way, so many kinds of clingings, so many kinds of becomings, and then so many kinds of births also, the births in different planes of existence. And then so many kinds of this old age, sickness, deaths. Also, there are so many ways and means to understand. There's so much of variety actually in all these phenomena, but they're all burning. The core reason for all these different burning phenomena, those core reasons are the causes. This raga, dosa, moha. Understanding this is crucial, and its consequences, its expressions. There are millions. Actually, it's not just three kinds of Vedana, three kinds of these feelings. In different contexts, Buddha explains these three, you can understand it as five also. Physical feeling, mental feeling. Dukkha domanas, if it is unpleasant. Sukha somanasa, if it is pleasant. So in that way, the three becomes five. And when you bring in these five senses and one mind sense into this, then it will become 30, 6 into 5, 30. The five kinds of senses and 6 kinds of sense bases, 5 kinds of feelings and 6 kinds of sense bases, that means 30. And in the past, future, so those, it will become 90. In so many ways, these sensations or these feelings, one can understand. So these variations, this diversity of either feelings, diversity of contact, diversity of cravings, diversity of rebirths, it has so many dimensions. One need not so much, let's say, skewed in their interest, their understanding about these expressions. Understanding the core is important. That's what this sutta is all about. Understand the fire within you, which leads to so many other expressions. And the rebirths and the repeated births and deaths. The core fire is and so on, ragaggi, dosaggi, and mohaggi. Not some external fire, not these external consequences, expressions like the feelings, or expressions like even the consciousness, expressions like the cravings, which are all burning. All are burning, that idea you should have. And what are all you can experience? They're all burning, that experience, that understanding you should have. But the core understanding should be on the cause behind all this. So in that way, you should look into it. And this neutral feeling is nothing but the feeling that you're not in a position to experience. That is neutral feeling. That's all. Okay.
Okay. That means we should always go find out there is always some kind of a raga, dvesh and moha behind any feeling, and that even behind the neutral feeling, and that cause a burning. So I understood it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, next question.
Vandami Bantaji,
Yeah.
like how to identify our intuitions of thoughts are like some good intentions are also yielding good results. How to clarify the raga, dosa, moha in it? In the
In a good
thoughts.
intention. In a good intention also.
Yeah. Bantaji. Or
Actually, one powerful solution for all these confusions is to have this inclination towards the Nibbana. When a person develops more and more inclination towards Nibbana by understanding the dukkha in this worldliness, then he will start understanding what are the good intentions, what are the bad intentions, whether in this good intention also there is some raga, dosa, moha. All this clarity a person starts getting when he is progressing in this inclination to absolute liberation. Until unless a person develops clear inclination towards absolute liberation, then this confusion will remain all the time, forever. What kind of confusion? This kind of confusion. There may be some good intention, but still there may be some raga, dosa, moha in it. Good for me, good for others. Good for me and good for others, the inclination of liberation, then only it is good for me, good for others.
yes.
Simply prizing oneself for some quality, that itself will not make that intention completely good. And the intention of mine or others are focused or inclined or sloped towards Nibbana, then the refinement of bad into good, unwholesome into wholesome, raga, dosa, moha into the opposite. Alobha, adosa, moha. The lobha, dosa, moha becomes alobha, adosa, moha. It becomes step by step. It's all a process. Don't confine it to process, not compartmentalize it. Lobha, dosa, moha is one set. Alobha, adosa, moha is one set. All unwholesome is one set. All wholesome is one set. No, it's all gradation. There is complete gradation. It's a process, step by step, bit by bit. It has to be cleansed. It has to be refined. And that refinement becomes more authoritative, more clear when the inclination is towards absolute liberation. But until and unless that inclination is not there, with right faith, with right view, right faith and right view will keep you in that inclination. Then your mind will be in that mess of deciding what is right, what is wrong, what is unwholesome, what is unwholesome, what is wholesome, what is raga, dosa, moha, what is, whether I am progressing in this, removing this dross of raga, dosa, moha, or again I am getting entangled. That's what is the major problem, isn't it? Sometimes you feel like you are free from raga, but you may be stuck in dosa. Sometimes you may be free, you may think that you are free from dosa, but you may be stuck in some moha or in some raga. Isn't it? That's what happens.
Yes,
in our lives. So to come out of that, this inclination to this absolute liberation, by correctly understanding establishing in right view and right faith, when that very inclination is there towards absolute liberation, because the very thing in the worldliness is suffering, then you will get right view, you will establish in right faith, then bit by bit, in an authority in a far better way, in a far authoritative way, where you can start fixing this raga, dosa, moha. You won't get, like, by fixing one, you won't develop the other, you won't increase the other. In authoritative way, you can't fixing. That's what happens with so many other wrong views. So many religious people, they show a lot of compassion, but they will be cheated, let us say, because their delusion has increased. They can't protect themselves. In the name of helping others, they trouble themselves. In the name of, like, say, fixing their anger, they may develop more attachment. Like, say, in developing, like, say, compassion, they may develop more of ignorance, dullness. So there is always a kind of imbalance you can see when you don't have this right view and right faith. That means you don't have inclined, you have not inclined towards Nibbana authoritatively, because you have not understood the suffering in the world. Let's try to have these worldly things only with this wholesome, this alobha, dosa, moha. That will not happen. They are struggling in this worldliness only and trying to come out of this lobha, dosa, moha. You can't achieve. At least you should have, finally, you should have Nibbana as your ultimate goal. But you should have, with proper understanding, at least some superior goals, like this inclination to perform meritorious actions, and thereby at least you will get the divine realms. At least in the future, in the old age, of time of death, you will be happy. Then you will understand what are meritorious actions. Then you will understand to perform a meritorious action based on alobha, dosa, moha, in an integrated way. So the answer to the question, your question is, like, if you don't have proper inclination and complete range of understanding, that how this each step, each mental thought is taking me towards the ultimate liberation. So it may take a lot of time, no problem. If that clarity, that inclination is not there, then these three defilements, they start playing with you. This raga, dosa, moha. You can't authoritatively fix them, a proper grip on all the three. If you are trying to fix one, the other two may become predominant. So to come out of this kind of confusion, the only solution is to properly understanding these Four Noble Truths. To understand these Four Noble Truths, worldliness is suffering, liberation is happiness, that clarity will get. And keeping that liberation as the goal, if you incline towards that goal, then your mind only will start giving some intuitions. Oh, now this lobha, though I am fixing this lobha, it may lead to some dosa. This lobha, dosa, moha, it will start opening up themselves. And of course, all these teachings, all these meritorious actions, all meditations, these rightful meditations, they have the power to fix these three defilements in an authoritative way. When you practice, let us say, this right awareness of even the sounds, or the breath, or the sensation, or the 4 elements meditation, then you are observing them with this alobha, dosa, moha. There is no raga there, there is no moha there, there is no dosa there. That is the power of right view awareness, right awareness. In other actions, worldly actions, like there may be some kind of admixture of Lobha with alobha, dosa with adosa, moha with moha. Or there may be one year fixing, the other may increase. All that problem may be there. But in this proper understanding of these meritorious actions and meditations, and properly following with proper faith, proper view, proper inclination, proper goal, the ultimate goal, then it's relatively easy to understand this raga dosa moha and to fix this raga dosa moha, though it's in a bit by bit way, but in an authoritative way, it will be easy. Otherwise, definitely this problem will be there. So because of that reason, one should progress in this path in a very authoritative way, not just taking a bit from here, bit from there, and again after 1 year or after 6 months again trying to get something from there. No, it should be on a regular basis, in a very disciplined way, very committed way. One should practice this. Doing this here and again, doing something else, doing some other worldly nonsense, and there get stuck and again coming back here trying to understand. Regularity, repetitiveness, right association repeatedly, right guidance repeatedly, right inclination, establishing in the right inclination in an authoritative, repeated way. All these things will come to your rescue. Otherwise, you can't fix this confusion. Yeah, by understanding this raga dosa moha, with that very understanding will not open up. And there is no this kind of regularity, this kind of commitment, this kind of responsibility, this kind of inclination. So that is the answer.
Thank you. Vandana.
Yes, any other thing? Okay. We'll conclude with a small chanting. Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanganubhavena sada swati bhavantu te sukhi bhaveyan nidrupo aham nicha aham viya pitacha me sukhi hontu majjata chataverino mami gammante dhammu satta hontu sukhi sada tato paranchara jesu chakkavale sujantuno sukhi hontu mangal. May all of you be happy, healthy, and peaceful. May all beings also be happy, healthy, and peaceful. Sukhi Huntu.